All right, good afternoon. We are heading into live time. So this is a replacement. We've been doing weekly lives, or actually, we've been doing daily lives for a little while. And so right now we're going to do some. We've moved to a weekly live plan where we are going to try to be going live once a week instead of every single day. We'll see how that works. Trying to adjust things here. Um, what we're going to be talking about today is the issue of helping your sons, your daughters make up their mind, or really helping them to understand what their options are after high school. So that's the pitch. We got a lot of questions about this. They're talking to people, whether it's I mean, actually, whether it is some of our business from Ask Dr. Callahan, some of the other business, I do a lot of business coaching with people, and with the university, and just the many things I do. We just find ourselves in these conversations over and over again, and I think it's a little bit of it is, I mean, the insanity of how we do things in our culture. But we want to provide some resources for those, because we do high school products, right, for our business. And after high school is the what's next question for many of us. Whether we're parents and have the what's next, or we're students and have the what's next, and sometimes the what's next has a panic feature that's just embedded to it just for the sheer enjoyment. So how do you help your students plan for after high school? How do we think about this? How do we go through some of these kinds of things? So I'm going to dive through those in just a minute as we're getting started. But before, for those of you that are customers, I will say we are in the process of upgrading. Our team is upgrading the website. You'll be getting emails about that when they implement it. The website will change. If you have online courses, your login will change a little bit. You'll probably have to just reset your password, but I guess I don't know. But we'll tell you that once that happens. So as you see things change, we didn't get hacked by foreign government. We just made a change. But it's the start of the year. Here we are in the start of the year. So those of you who have seniors, students going into seniors, you're thinking about this a lot. The question that we'll dive into, and those of you that are maybe they're not that far along yet, and or maybe you've launched. I've talked to a lot of people that they have already launched some kids, and what's next for the next one. It's funny because every child seems to be different, right? Everybody has a different personality and different interest, and what we did for one doesn't work for the other. Typical. All right, let's dive in though to the subject, and we just want to talk about, as parents, what can we do to help. So let me just throw a couple of things out first. Is one of the things, as I'm talking to parents, is we as parents don't really have a clear understanding of the options that are out there. We are oftentimes making decisions, I would say, not based upon what we have learned, but what our parents have learned. It's the same model that is ingrained in our bread and ingrained in our brain, and it's embedded into our society somehow. Which is really kind of weird, because things have changed so much. So, how to guide your students, first of all, for you as moms and dads to really think about the answers. And I'm not sitting here trying to say I have all the answers, because I have a limited point of view. Um, but I watch what other people say. I talk to other people, and I'm seeing that there are so many options. Um, so um, so to get to know the options yourself, so not just opinions, right? Not just opinions on your friends or anything else. And here's where we as parents and our students usually get our information from universities. We go out and we do school visits. Sometimes, whether our students want to go to school, college, or not, we start looking at those school visits. And those people will tell us about this is what you need to do to move into career X or career Y. Here's the degree you need to make. I just want to be super clear here. I work for a university. When you are asking those questions, you are asking the question of the person selling the product, right? That's like going to a car dealership and say, do I need this car? Yes, you do. And let me tell you why. And so, uh, is it biased? Absolutely, it's biased. Have they thought through the sales process at universities? You had better believe it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We train our people at the university to sell a product. And that's just all there is to it. Think about it. Every single student we bring to a university is uh, 30, 60, 80, $100,000 if they stay, right? And it depends on whether they're graduate or not. But when we're talking about undergraduate, we're generally talking about $60,000 to $100,000 of revenue. It's like selling you a high-end vehicle or a house, depending on what university you're going to. We also know if we can sell a student on a university that they will likely pay us more than that. They will buy housing from us. And yes, that is a profit center. They will buy food from us. They will buy insurance from us. There will be all kinds of upsells from us. We also can make money from selling their names to Visa and MasterCard and all kinds of things, right? There's back end money. It's a huge business. And so when you're going out talking to the undergraduate enrollment people, or you're going to these sales pitches at the university, and they're showing you off the university. And what we like to do nowadays is we like to walk you around the university. Why? Because the data shows that students buy universities because of the outside space. They want environment. It's a sales process. We know what we are doing, and we do it very, very well. It's a very expensive product, and we do it so well that most parents think that they have to do this, and most students think they have to do this. It is a great, great sales pitch. Yes, I'm the School of Engineering. I was the head of recruiting for the undergraduate recruiter worked for me for a while. And I went to all the meetings and saw the data. This is just the way it is. Some universities do a better job at it than others, but no matter what, you are getting sold. So that's fine. Take their data, take their information, but they're probably wrong. And what they're probably wrong about is when they tell you, or they tell your son or daughter, if you want to get a career in X, you need this degree. And the reason I say they're wrong is usually the people you're talking to know very little about that career field. Because what's their career field? They are recruiters for universities. That's what they know. If you talk to faculty, that tends to be the same thing. Most faculty have very little career experience. Not all, but most. So let's just think about some basic facts. Now, I'm not trying to talk you out of college or your son or daughter. I think we just need to, as parents, need to be realistic and make a decision based upon reality. And what we like to think about is what's called return on investment. So I'll give you a case in point. If you're going to spend $60,000 to $100,000 for a degree, and you likely are, how are you going to get that back? What's going to be your return on investment? And is that the best investment? So I run a graduate program. It's $30,000, and it's an expensive graduate program. And we tell them by the time you're done with this program, you will be earning $30,000 a year more than you are earning now. We can't promise that or guarantee that, but that's what most do. And so we say it's a 100% return on investment. Um, the financial calculation there is not perfect. The point is, I know that's why people come to get this degree. And so that's the message we give them. So let's take a step back and say, what are some basic facts that are going on as we look at colleges? Well, what are some basic facts? What are the options for our son or daughter? College, clearly. Military is one a lot of people take, some with college, some not. Sometimes the military will pay for the college. That's a great thing. Trade schools, technical skills training, which aren't trade schools. They're different. When I think about trade schools, I'm thinking about carpentry and mechanics and welding and those kind of things where you're working with your hands. Technical skills are programming and things like that, which you're still working with your hands. It's just a new trade, right? But on the job training, that's still very popular and powerful. Entrepreneurship. And guess what? This isn't all limiting because we see people. When I think about entrepreneurship, I'm including a friend of mine who has he quit high school and started a company that's made hundreds of millions of dollars. He's a high school dropout, right? So we see people doing on the job training where they go get a job for somebody and they learn things there. But also back to entrepreneurship, when I see people that are YouTubers, right? We know kids that are YouTubers that haven't been to school that are successful. Yes, there is a career path there. It's and some of them are wildly successful. But all these would be under the field of entrepreneurship. You're just driving and doing something to make money. And again, just step back, right, and look at the reality as a parent of what's going on out there. What are the options out there for you? Is when you hear people like Tim Cook, and when you hear people like Elon Musk, who are massive employers, they hire lots of people saying that college is not really the best option for most people. These are both extremely technical people, and I could multiply that by hundreds of very successful people that say the same thing. Is you just have to stop and think, okay, what are the options? But first, as parents, we just need to recognize that there are some options. So let's just talk about well, here's what's going to happen to your kids. And if it's not going to happen to your kids it already is. Said it probably already is, and it's probably happening to you. Is you have a son or a daughter a certain age, your friends, family members, people at church, wherever, start asking what they're going to do. And if you don't answer, they're going to college ABC and majoring in X, then you start to get, well, they could probably go to trade school. They could probably learn a trade. And you start getting this, and some people are positive about it. And some people just look at you like you're weird because that's what they think. That's what they know. They're in the same position that we are, right? That's all they know, all that we know. So we ask somebody what their child is going to do when they graduate high school, and the answer is they're going to go to college. That's not an answer. That's here's what they're going to go do to spend more money. That's the investment. But what are they going to do with that? Is the real question. But no, the world's just crazy. So that's what's going on. So let's think a little about the college, though. The average college cost is, and now I'm talking about state schools. I'm not talking about any private education here. $60,000, $100,000. Even if there's a scholarship, like full paid, lots of friends of mine have said they've got a full paid scholarship for their son or daughter, and then they're like, wow, I'm still spending $17,000 a year personally. So even scholarships, full ride scholarships, are usually not what you think they are. And you don't know that till later. Graduation rates. This is the thing to really think about. Graduation rates from college are 40%. 40% of lower income now graduate. Now, 77% if you're a higher income families graduate. And what I mean by higher income, I mean 140,000 a year and above household income. So if you have a high income, you can probably make college work. If you don't have a high income, you're actually, or the average statistic is you're going to drop out of college without the degree and with a student loan. So if we go by that, colleges are predatory lenders to underprivileged people or the poor, whatever. I mean, that's just the data. This is not made up. This is actual data I'm reading to you. But 77% will graduate from higher income families. So that means there's 20 something that didn't. Does that matter? I don't know. Most graduates graduate with a debt of $37,000 on average. Now, if you know anything about statistics, averages are dangerous numbers. They don't mean what you think they mean. So you will end up, many people are going to end up with much higher debt than that. So certainly if you go to graduate school or private school, you're usually into the hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, just debt. It's not unusual to see somebody going to a professional school, it's a lawyer or a doctor or anything with $200,000 debt. Not unusual at all. So here's the interesting thing is it usually takes 20 years to pay off student debt. So some of you that will be listening to this video are likely as parents still paying for the debt of your college. How do I know that? Because when I was over the recruiting team for the School of Engineering, I remember them telling us, the big recruiting team in a meeting, that one of the challenges that we have in recruiting students to universities and to telling parents you should go get a loan is that most parents were still paying for their loans. So the conversation's a little more tricky, right? So they have to dance around that. You're still paying off your student loan. But that's, again, I'm just reading you the facts. So here's degrees in tech field. So if you go to University XYZ and you get a degree in a technical field, this is where the good news is. You're probably going to get a job paying $60,000 to $80,000 a year. That's kind of a U.S. average, right? If you move to California, it pays significantly more, and you're still starving. New York, maybe to a couple of areas of the country, but on average, it's about 70,000. I work with a lot of engineers that are professional, that have jobs, and they're not making 70. So it depends a little bit about what you're doing here. So 40% of people that are graduates of schools, 40% do not find jobs in their field of study. Now, is it because they don't want to, or they find something better? Possibly. Or is it just because they can't find anything? Yeah, that's possible too. Again, I'm just reading you data. This is not made up by Dell. I can give you plenty of stuff made up by Dell, but this is not some of them. All things considered, college graduates often, so if you look at high school graduates versus college graduates in the salary base, add 20,000. So that's what we're looking at, is you're going to go spend money for a $20,000 bump. That's good, except that it's going to take 4 years to do it. So you're already $80,000 behind. Okay, so it takes a while to do that. And that's just starting salaries, right? That's all that means, is starting salaries. What happens after that is a wash. So I'll talk about engineering data. Most engineers, and I work with engineers, they give me their salary data. They're required to. They give me their net worth, as a matter of fact. That's because they're required to. Um, that are professional engineers that are working in industry, been doing it for a couple of years or some 30 years. And you don't see a whole lot of technical people with salaries above 150. Right. So their growth is good, and maybe that's staggering, but it doesn't seem very staggering to me. But anyway, that's what it is. Um, but and all these are averages, right? There's many outliers, salaries. But here, okay, but that's cool. So I'm just saying, if you're not a technical degree and you go to University XYZ and you're not getting a degree in computer science or engineering or so a couple other fields, some of the medical fields will have that too. You're probably looking at 20 something $1,000s less. You're actually at the high school level. That's just the facts, right? So if you want to go get a degree in art and art appreciation, or music history or something like that, that's you're spending money just for the sheer entertainment. So just be aware of that. And that's just, and people get mad when you say that. I'm not the only one that says that, but people won't get mad at you and say, what about higher education and development of the person? There's cheaper ways to do. There's books, there's libraries, there's all kinds of awesome things. There's YouTube that has things besides cat videos. So, but that's, as again, I'm talking to us as parents just to think about, to step back, what's going on in the world when you don't have 3 channels on TV anymore. There's not just major employers. There's employers everywhere. The world has changed. Let me tell you a piece of data that might shock you, though. So if you do technical training, so you've got a student that maybe is good in computers or software or cybersecurity and interested in, some of these technical skill sets, they're in high demand. Graduates from reputable, now I've left colleges, right? So we'll quit beating them up. I'm hoping I'm giving you some pros and cons, but graduates from reputable coding boot camps where they go and learn software or they go learn some technical skills, often computer related. And I'll think like Bethel is one of them. It's an online program. I think it costs you less than $15,000. You do it in front of the computer. It's 6 months or something. It's pretty quick. And there's all kinds out there. I'm just giving you that one. But graduates from those programs get starting salaries of $50,000 to $80,000 a year, depending on the industry, the location, the specific skills required. For in-demand fields, I am reading you a quote. For in-demand fields like software development, cybersecurity, data analytics, starting salaries often exceed $80,000. I am no longer talking about 4-year degrees. They enter the workforce faster than people who get a college degree, have increased earnings often, and improved seniority. What I mean by that, if you send a high school student and they go to Bethel, they get some kind of software technical degree, they start with a great salary. They're starting with the same salaries as 4-year graduates. Just data. I'm just data here. And what happens is when your son or daughter graduates, these are peers, when your son or daughter graduates, they go to work for that person because that person is now a senior developer and making more money. So they are just ahead of the game. And just data. I'm just data. So trades. So let's look at trade schools now. So because there's one college, you have these technical schools that hardly anybody pays attention to. You know who pays attention to the technical schools? People who get college degrees in X and they find it's boring and they go back and get this technical skill to go to work. Our daughter is one of them. So they work. They absolutely work. We see them all the time. But that's usually who does it. It's not a high school person who could really take super advantage of this, or high school graduate. Trades. So college, some technical training schools, or trades. So you might say, well, software development is a hands-on skill, so it's a trade. Maybe these are all trades. That's fair. But the traditional trades, students who enter the trades can expect salaries typically ranging from $40,000 to $50,000 and earn potential to earn 60 to 80,000 or more as they gain experience. I always love these stats because they're just stats, right? Or more, because I see a lot of guys driving around in trucks that are making $100,000 a year. But you know, that's and let's just step back also as a parent. The world pays money for value. That's why people pay me and pay you and pay uh, anybody else. That's why we take money out of our pockets and hand it to other people, is for value add. We don't care about degrees. I would challenge, probably most of you do not have any clue where your medical doctor went to school. Unless you've had a conversation about it or know them personally, you probably don't have a clue. It may be hanging up on their wall somewhere. You probably don't pay attention to it, but you are valuing them very highly and paying them a decent amount of money. But we don't care. We don't care as customers about these kind of things. We don't care about the guy who fixes our plumbing when our plumbing is leaking. Yeah, I mean, they're very valued. Um, so I mean, we are about to pay somebody to do some work here at our house, and he's making more per hour to do this work than most college graduates. Um, so, all right, so that's so as we look at this as parents, I just want us to step back and realize the whole world that's college, or I'm going to be working in some kind of blue collar message. And that's the message out there. It's a white collar job with college, or it's blue collar. And you kind of have, let's be honest, there is a pride factor. Not a pride factor for your kids, it's a pride factor for mom and dad. Right? Everybody wants their kid to be the senior executive. That's real, right? That's out there. And so we deal with it. Our kids deal with it too. There's almost a shame in our culture for anybody that's not going to college that's able. You see it, you know it. It's common. So let's look at those some typical advice is that we get. So we'll shift gears. Hopefully, us as parents, can start to think a little bit broader about what the options are. They are unlimited. Unlimited. I work with crazy people who make crazy amounts of money all the time. They out earn college graduates, whether they have a college graduate degree or not. They just run circles financially around them because they're just doing something to serve the world. But here's some typical advice. Here's the typical advice I get is competency test and personality tests. We'll often do these career testing. I don't actually see a lot of people doing this. I hear a lot of people talking about it. If you go to a public or private high school system, if you're homeschool, you probably don't see this as much, but public and private, we see this. It's kind of built into what they do, right? They want to give you some automated test that automatically, takes your DNA and tells you what you should do for a living. So competency tests are dangerous because it tells you what you're good at. We were on a mission trip the other day, and there was a high school girl there. I guess she was 11th to 12th grader. She was super in math and science. She was claimed by all the people that knew her to be brilliant. And she told me, she says, I'm not going to go into engineering or science. What she likes is history. That's what she loves talking about. So she's competent in this one area, but it doesn't mean she would love doing it. We see this in engineering all the time. We see students who actually can do the work, but they don't like it. That's not what they want to do. Personality test, I think I think all personality tests like Myers-Briggs are all totally biased. I'm not the only one, but I don't think they tell you anything. You're like, so I've learned I hate people. I knew that before I took the test, or I learned I'm an introvert. Well, I kind of knew that. Everybody around me knows that. So, um, profiles built on interest, value, and skills. I'm looking at something Yale University does, and they do something that's a profile built on that. It's they're okay, right? They tell you something, but they're not really worth the time. Career centers. So we see a lot of career centers and colleges and universities. So most schools of engineering around the nation, because schools of engineering put out high dollar people, they have career experts on staff. We do too. We have two of them, and in a lot of other fields. I'm sure the business fields and all. Well, I know the business people do. So a lot of places where employers are showing up looking for people, and the career expert at the university is supposed to help the students match up with employers. So why they're fine, right? But they're so limited because what you are based upon is based upon the jobs that are showing available. These people, they are doing their job based upon the employers who show up at the university. I know right now, like at our university, we'll have, I don't know, 100 to 200 employers that show up for career things. If I go to another university, they will have a couple of hundred, but they're different. And part of it is based upon the relationship of this career expert and the employers. Relationships are key. Employers have told me that they pick schools that they're going to go to because they don't have much time. So what that means is even if you're at big giant engineering school or big giant medical school or whatever school they're going to at the university or career center or whatever you're doing, they are limited by the network that they know. Right? That's so critical. It is their network that is limiting you. So it's a good place to start, but it's a terrible place to finish. And unfortunately, that's what most students do is they start and finish right there. So when I say typical advice, I mean the advice we get from so-called career experts, the advice that we get from friends and family, the advice our friends get. Our son just went out to the college, no, the college sub 30 ministry. The pastor who runs the younger people, I guess, that are not college. I don't know what he does. Let's just say sub 30. They're below 30 years old. He was given all this common advice, right? Well, if you're not going to go to college, you might want to do this, and it's what they know. Everybody has advice, right? So everybody has advice. My point is, I mean, so do I. Why would you listen to me? You just need to stop and take a look at the reality and teach your student to do that. Teach your student to do that. I'm gonna give you a couple of tools to do that in just a second. So let's actually just jump into this right now. Where is a good place to start? Deal with your students' assumptions. You got to anyway, right? Um, we'll find a lot of students that will tell us, high school students, because they're so used to getting the questions, we don't know whether it's true or not, what's going on inside their brain, whether they start answering a question, I'm going to go be an engineer or a doctor or this or that, because they just need an answer to shut people up. Adults that are insistent on helping them when they didn't ask for help. So they start answering these questions. Sometimes they're interested, right? We see a lot of people, for instance, interested in engineering and computer field because it pays a lot, but in everything else too, it's kind of where their interests are. And so they'll say, I'm going to be blank, right? Dale Callahan, was interested in being an engineer. I don't know why. Looking back, I hated school. I was, but I don't know why. I mean, it was one of those things. I had some interest, but you know what? I had no clue what engineers really did. I kind of had made up in my head what they did, but I had no clue in reality, right? And neither do your students. I don't care how many videos they've watched. I don't care what they think they've done to research. They have no clue what the world looks like in that industry in most cases, unless they've done a couple of things. So, um, I mean, it, it's very comical because I will oftentimes talk to students and they're very cocky, especially a student that thinks they know what to do. They can be very cocky and arrogant because they know more than me. I have sat around in meetings with talking to parents and parents who know nothing about the field of engineering, explaining to other parents who know nothing about the field of engineering what engineers do or what engineering school looks like. And I'm sitting at the table and you're like, I mean, and I can make fun of these people, but that's just our culture. We don't ask for advice from reality. We would rather get it from opinion. So that happens and it's real with your student, right? They've formed opinions and you don't know where they've formed them from. And they may not know where they formed them from. And you kind of have to help them explore what's going on. So, for instance, my daughter, or one of our daughters, Cassidy, who does some of our math products now, she wanted to be an FBI agent. So she was very passionate about it. And I could kind of look at that and recognize the TV shows she watched, some of these crime scene things. I don't know the names of them, but very heroic, very cool to be a federal agent. So what kind of recognizing this, well, I mean, I didn't know if she did or not, but so I called a friend of mine in the FBI and said, at least I think, I forget how we did this, but I think that's what I did. I called him and said, hey, she wants to be an FBI agent. Can you ever meet with somebody? But either way, she ends up meeting with this FBI agent and she goes, I think she went and had coffee with it. And it was a woman. So she goes and she has coffee with this FBI agent lady. And she comes back from that and she was just like thrilled that she went and met this lady and she was the FBI. She had coffee with an FBI agent. And but she was like, it's kind of weird. After she came off the high a little bit, she was like, she drove the same car I did. She was a mom. She had kids. And she made it sound really cool, but there was also a lot of paperwork and meetings and things like that. And after a short time of processing, she was like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's just really cool. I think what they do is great, but I don't want to do that. Well, the image that she had built up in her head about what these people did went away, right? She got a little bit of a dose of reality. Then she decided to be a vet. She was going to be a vet, which is a graduate degree, hard to get into sometimes. So we were like, well, she went to talk to a vet and the vet said, why don't you come to work for me, be a vet tech or whatever he did. And she did that for a while. She actually liked some of it. And she was like, it's not for me, for so many reasons. It's not the kind of thing she wanted to do. But seeing the reality of what a job looks like after you go through all the schooling is invaluable, right? Why don't we do this for everybody? I mean, we would be thrilled if every person who came in the school, faculty would, okay, not the people who collect the money, but faculty would be thrilled if everybody who came into engineering school had worked with engineers and knew what was going on. They would be super, right? Our other daughter, she wanted to be an archaeologist. And so we got her out there working on it. She was an archaeology dig. She did an archaeological dig for a little over a month, was down in the mud, doing all the fun things you see them doing on Indiana Jones. It wasn't quite the adventure that Indiana Jones had. I think that was a little disappointing to her. She's a software developer, by the way, and Cassidy is now a podcaster, webcaster, whatever you want to say. So Because here's the reality. No matter what job your sons and daughters are getting, no matter what they have in their head, the reality is they enter the world is meetings and email. And the thing that they never think about is all of these jobs have people issues. And so when you look at the common denominator from all kinds of jobs, including grass cutting or anything else, is it's people. And some have understood it well and some don't. And usually the difference in pay is your ability to deal with people. So you're better at it or you're not. But that's kind of the reality. And what you want to do is give them some reality. We'll talk about a little process to do that. I've kind of hinted around at it, but uh, let's first dive into this other question. What if they have no idea? Which I think is fairly normal. Um, and by the way, a lot of parents I have talked to get kind of freaked out about this. It's a little freaky, right? I will admit that. They have no clear idea what they want to do, and you're sitting there thinking, you need to make some money. You need to figure this out. And you can get a little panicked as a parent, and then they can get a little panicked, and it gets a little worse. And then you get crazy and do crazy things. And they start to say, I'm going to go to school to do something. I'm going to go spend your money. I'm not sure why, but I've rationalized it because the pressure, right? There's this intense pressure. But instead, help them explore options, like I just said, like we did. I think we kind of did it accidentally, and we kind of stumbled into it. You want them to explore, so you want to start where their interests are. So the career profiles that you see looks at interest, looks at your skill sets, and look at what the jobs are hiring for. Forget the skill sets. You can learn skills. You may have a natural inclination to do some things, but generally you can learn what needs to be done. And don't worry about the market. And what I mean is what pays the most, where the job's at. Because if you find something that you love doing, you'll find the opportunities there. So start with what they are interested in, and find, just like Cassidy and Katrina did, find some people who are doing what they're interested in. This sounds obvious to me, and maybe it does to you. I mean, it just sounds like, why would you not do this? By the way, people who are successful at starting businesses, people that are, some of the network I hang out with, they're serial entrepreneurs, meaning they start a business, they sell a business. They start a business, they take it public, and that's just what they do, right? They start businesses. And their nature is to, when they're thinking about, hey, we could start a donut shop, is what do? They go around and talk to people who have started donut shops. Even though they're savvy business people and they know how to run a business, they assume they know nothing about the next business. They seek advice. There's some proverbs about that, right? Seek wise counsel. And the wise counsel in this case is the people who are already doing the job, not the university guys trying to sell you the degree. That's not it. So you want to start with their interest. Find people doing the things that they are doing and go talk to them. So this is the process that we use. We call it a reverse interview process. I teach this to professionals, because we see it. Whether you're trying to get a job, whether you're trying to learn about a career, whether you're trying to start a new business, the same thing happens, because we know that all money flows through people. And when you're trying to get a job or a career, that's what it is. It's money, right? And it's a way to serve people and add value. Find people doing what you love. You're like, I don't know what to do. And so we have a product called Career Planning that walks through this complete step. It goes through this in detail, walking about how to do it. I'm not going to do that now, but you want to go find the people doing things that you love. And I was on a call with a parent and her son the other day. I forget where they're from, but we were just we actually got on there. We found some people while I was live with her and said, "Hey, this person, I don't know them, you don't know them, but here they are. They're in your neighborhood. They live near you, and they're doing what your son wants to go to school to do. You should go talk to them. You should learn from them." So you want to find those people and you want to go talk to them and explore with them. And oftentimes, these people who are doing the things will have some opportunity for you to job shadow or intern with them, or they just want to put you to work because employers want to be working with people who are passionate about what they're passionate about, right? If you owned a bicycle shop and you were all into bicycles, and you've got Johnny and Susie coming to get jobs just because they're trying to make a buck. I mean, you're going to employ them. But to have a high school student show up and who's all into bicycles and knows all about the bicycles, that may even be a customer of yours and loves this stuff like you do, you want to put them to work. Come to work for me. I'm not saying that's always a good idea. I'm just saying those opportunities are out there and you just want to explore. Now, I have helped people start multiple businesses. That is exactly what we do. We just say, find the person that's doing it successfully already. Successful is the key word. Go talk to them, learn their path, and do what they tell you to do. Maybe you want to talk to 2 or 3. The same thing is for a career field, right? If I was back in high school today and I wanted to be an engineer, I would be out there talking to engineers. And some of the decisions I made, I wouldn't have made. I would have made them differently anyway. I would have moved faster. Um, but even with that, it doesn't matter, right? Because I turned out okay. I'm not broke and living in a ditch. And most people, even though they make some crazy decisions, they're not broke and living in a ditch. They figure things out. So, with all that said, let's just think about what to do now besides panic. Again, you've got a son or a daughter who is heading into college. Maybe they're already in college. Maybe they're just as confused in college as they were in high school or more confused. That's not abnormal by any stretch of the imagination. So, a couple of things to think about. Relax. You don't have to go to college. The university will pressure this. And the reason they will pressure this is money flow. There is money flow to get. I mean, it's federal money. There's all these kind of measurements universities have in terms of getting first year students straight out of high school. It's just the golden ticket. I forget what the details are, but it's the student ticket. And from a parent student perspective, all the scholarships are for those people. So you're not going to find a whole lot of scholarships for, hey, if I went and took a year traveling through Europe or something else, the scholarships tend to go away. So there's this, but it's the system is set and pressured. And part of the reason scholarships is because most of them come from the university, and that's what they want to happen, right? They want to get you straight out of high school and going through into college. So there's this pressure, and it's real pressure. It's a sales pitch pressure, and if you're a scholarship person, it may be logical for you to explore that. If not, then why are you in a hurry? Except for peer pressure, right? Which is or pride, which is again a big issue there. This is a great chance to explore opportunities. One thing I do know is that people who have gone out, whether they got 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, and they've gone out and they've done something, they've worked for somebody, they've made some money, they've been in the economy, and they come into school, whether as a freshman or whatever they are, they run circles around everybody else. They're just superior to all the other students that are in there. I remember when I was teaching one class, we had these people there that they were students. They had a couple of classes. They were busy, and they were all overwhelmed by all the classes and the things that we had to do. And I don't teach this stuff anymore, but I remember one guy being in there. He was a little older. He had multiple children, maybe 4 or 5, I forget. He was busy, right? He was married, had multiple children, had a full-time job, and was attending engineering school, taking the same number of classes these clowns were that, were the undergraduates, the other undergraduates. He was running circles around them. I remember asking him, they were having this chat with me about how overwhelmed and busy they were. And I was like, Charles, how about you? Are you overwhelmed? He said, I'm handling it. It's okay. And the reason was not because he was smart or anything else. The reason was because he understood how to deal with life, and he understood life's pressure. And that happened. I mean, that's fairly typical. Students are smarter and more engaged when they go, they have some work experience. That's kind of real work experience and life experience. So colleges want you now, but you're better students later. So, okay. That is what we've got for you today. I just let me change this back. So what we wanted to do here is just answer a lot of questions. We get a lot of these questions, and maybe we've hit the nail on the head, but probably we might have missed. So we're really interested in hearing any feedback, any questions that you've got in this area. I spend an incredible amount of time helping people with this, not because well, I don't know. It's just what's happened. And think about it from a bigger perspective. Think about it nationally. We want people in this country to love the work that they do, to be engaged. One of the big problems employers have is lack of engagement, because people don't really like their work. They're just not thrilled about it. We get better companies, we get better results, we get better products. I think we could argue easily we get a better country if we have people doing work they love. And as parents, you've got huge resources here with your children to give them the opportunities to explore so many things. And it's hard for you as a parent to walk a student through options until you kind of step back and realize there are options. They may not listen to everything that you say because they get so much input, but at least you can help back off and say, look at the big picture. Look at the options. Look at, why does a guy like Elon Musk say you don't need college? Is he just crazy? Maybe. What do other people really say? What's the data really show? The data shows that there's less and less students going to college. Universities are freaking out because that's the data. That's the reality. So leave that with you. And we are interested in hearing anything. You can email us, shout at us at Facebook, or however. We are thrilled to hear what you have to say. I think we've put up there the product, the college and career planning product. Anybody that's interested in that, it will walk you through these steps that I talked about, how to discover this for your student. All right. With that, we're going to get out of here. Have a great day. We will be back next week. Our game plan is now Thursday at 1 o'clock, every Thursday, 1 o'clock Central. And that's when we plan to be back here with you. Thanks a lot.